So we are in graphics class, and we're gonna start talking about one of the powerful tools inside of Photoshop called displacement. Of course, the heater kicks on just as I say that. So we're gonna look at a couple examples real quick. And I'm gonna get them onto the correct screen. Do that, here we go. So here we have a student's hand, our computer lab at school, how much we miss it. And you can see how, you can see the vein in his arm here and the bump that it makes. And even though it's a black tattoo, you can see how it bends around his arm. Now, I think probably when we look at this area, he might have had a little bit of overshading from this vein that comes down to make that bump. But the whole thing looks like it wraps around his arm. I mean, it looks like it's on his arm. The second thing I think that he does is when we're going to talk about the tattoos, it's a very intense value. And I think that if he would have changed the opacity a little bit, or if he would have kind of messed with the filter, and we're talking about how to mess with the image inside of Photoshop, that basically if you would have turned on multiplying, it would look a little bit more faded as if it were a tattoo that had been there for a while. So this is one. And then here's another student also. And again, this one, he applied the multiplying layer. So what multiplying does is it makes the layer in Photoshop. So if we think of, here's a layer and here's our bottom layer, and the arm is the bottom layer and the tattoo is the one above it. If I turn the tattoo layer on to multiply, it makes it understand and work with the layer below it. So it doesn't make it transparent as if you were switching the opacity. What it does is it says the values of the tattoo are going to interact with the values of the hand below. But again, a very good displacement map. You can see how this looks like it wraps around his arm, and the whole tattoo itself was a flat image of a kind of a tribal dragon that wraps around. And then his mask that he created allows this tattoo to look like it's wrapping around his arm. So both of these were, this is definitely what I would consider A quality work. You don't question that they're tattoos. They look like they're on the hand. It gets a little funky maybe in here, but at a first glance and even a close-up glance, if we zoom in on it, maybe, there's the zoom. I don't know why I couldn't see it right. If I zoom in on it, even up close, he has a little distortion happening here, but these pieces here wrap right in with the arm. And it's hard to tell that that's not a real tattoo. So we'll get to that one in a second, because we wanted to see, nope, that's me. So here's what the students' comments were. And as you kind of look through it, he talks about using the burn and dodge tools to make his displacement. He talks about that he picked the black forest and how he kind of wraps this around. So I'll just leave it there. I'm not a big one to read to you guys. I figure you're old enough to have to be able to read. We hope you can read. And then my next one. So the tattoo design, he started with the displacement. He used color correction because it didn't look realistic. And I think what he means in there is he might have used a color correction tool, but really hitting that multiply tool helps out. And then he talks about what he used to learn there. So we can get rid of their statements. This is going to talk about what we're going to do after the displacement tattoo. I'm going to pop up a couple of videos for you. I'll put these in Google Classroom. And you can see they're not really long videos. They're really kind of short ones. And this is what we're going to do for our next 3 projects. Our next 3 projects are all going to deal with displacement. So from wrapping textures and patterns around to actually making kind of words or images over your face. And I think that the nice thing about these videos is that I've watched through them. I use these to kind of help me, and I think they can help you with what we're going to do. So you'll just video link. Oh, I got to approve that. Okay, so now it's approved. We'll pop him off right now, but you can see how the tattoo looks like it wraps around. And from those 2 student works I just showed you, they're doing the same quality that he does inside of building his tattoo. He's got a cutout of his arm. He has the Union Jack, the British flag. We're gonna have to make a grayscale version of our image, and we're gonna play with our levels a little bit. We'll talk about that today. And when I say play with it, we really need to push these extremes. Darker areas, the computer will read a darker area as something that is further away or something that is in the background. And a highlight area is something that the computer will read as in the foreground, something closest to the viewer. So when we look at this highlight across the thumb, you can see this very dark area, it's gonna push the image backwards. And in this area, it's gonna push the image forward. And then these grays, it's gonna kind of level out a little bit. So I might like increase the gray. As you can see, we can detect with our eyes the palm and how the palm moves. This kind of bumps out a little bit, and then it goes into a valley, and then it bumps a little. So I might add a little highlight in there. I might decrease this a little. All of this area is going to kind of sink in. And this map, as we're pushing, so this is him talking about how he's pushing the displacement. Let me see if I can find his final one. So his final kind of pushed up a little. Then he's going to take this image to put it over the top. So last trimester when I was doing this, I took my face and put Peter Holland's Spider-Man across my face. Oh, no, I put Peter Holland's Spider-Man across his face. So there is his Union Jack, not even super kind of high res, but this is it applying the distortion. So you can see it start to get funky, warpy, and then he'll incorporate the 2 images together, and you can see how the area that was really bright pushes the image, and the areas that are really dark recesses the image or makes them wrap into its. And I'll put this whole video up. It doesn't take, it's a 9-minute video to go through, and then he talks about how he kind of cleans up some of it. And then up in here, this is him making the mask to cut out just the parts of the flag that he wants. And then he uses his gray. We'll go back to our skin tone. If you cover up the whole area, then it doesn't matter as much. But for ours, we're trying to make it look like something that we really had done. And then he does that little fade effect just to make it into a background. We want to have our tattoos, we want people to look at our tattoos and say, oh my gosh, when did you get a tattoo? That's our goal for what we're about to do. Before we go too far, I am looking for, oh, it's right under here. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. I'm gonna check with you and see what we are gonna do is we're gonna find an image from the internet of our tattoo that we wanna put on. We talked about this last week. We wanna find a place to put the tattoo that maybe you really didn't wanna ever have a tattoo. So you can go full face tattoo. You can go in a spot of your body where you think, okay, this would be a good one. What we want to make sure is, so I showed you 2 arms, 2 nice forearm back of arm, but forearms. And we want to make sure that the tattoo looks like you can see the wrapping and the warping. Anything that's on the arm, so your tattoo has to be hidden where it would go under clothing or under items in your picture. If I was doing my face, obviously where I have facial hair, my tattoo isn't going to go over the facial hair. It should be hidden, and it might even be completely gone from that facial hair. So we're gonna I'm going to show you another student piece. And this is the students, this is what they did, 19 steps that they went through to create their displacement. They call it dispersion, but they're really making a displacement map. So, this is a very well typed out thought. So from upload your photo, crop to get what you want, and they go through every step of what they are to make it. They probably have a few steps at the end here. It looks like maybe they're missing. So when we come in, oh, this was for the dispersion. So basically they're putting the pattern and slowly filtering it into the image. So the image was two young ladies next to each other. This was, I think, prom. And then putting the one person kind of coming back and then having the stars kind of slowly fade in. And then you can see that on her skin and on her dress and on her face, when the stars come in across the sky, they wrap into this person. So we're gonna work on making those images happen. So our goal for the next few weeks is we're gonna talk about today displacement maps. We're gonna look at making a tattoo next week. Really, we're gonna do displacement maps. Usually I would break it up through the trimester, but we're just gonna do 3 displacement maps in a row. And then that way, and we're gonna apply them different ways. And then that way you can see and you're really gonna understand how these work. And then, so that's gonna take us through the 15th of May. And then our final thing is we're gonna play with the removal tool, how to take things out of a photo or add in something else into a photo. And that'll be our last week that we do. So we're gonna learn those tools. Sound cool? So before I get into any of that, how are you doing on your, did you make it any further on your self-portrait, your Archimaboldi? That's cool. Have you worked any more on your font? Because I'll be honest, you're the main person doing all this. Would it help you if we wait till Monday to kind of go through the demonstration on how to do displacements? So that way you had more time to finish up. Okay, so let's do this. Monday, okay, so your graphics homework assignment is to get a picture of where you're gonna put the tattoo. So if it's gonna be on your foot, we need the picture of the foot. If you're gonna do it on your face, it's gonna be on your face. If you really wanna go ham hock and you wanna do a couple of tattoos, like, and you want to have them all over, then we're gonna do that. Make sure, see how there's a shadow on my face? I don't wanna have that. So I would take a picture of my face, I take a picture of my arm, and then we'll learn how to put the two together. So that you can get the tattoo displacement, because the shadow would mess up your tattoo displacement. That's what I want to say. So your assignment for next week is Monday's class have the picture that you want to do the tattoo. And then the last thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna do this screen share quick, boop. And we're gonna pop up a new thing, boop. And you could do, and I put down, not ideas, but I would probably put down tattoo designs. I don't know why I double tapped eyes there. And try not to get tattoos on people. We're gonna actually look for this sort of thing, vector stock, and try to get, this one isn't bad. The grayscale isn't gonna mess with you too much. The tattoos, it's not gonna mess with you. What we do have to remember is we're gonna wanna remove the white background. So when we get into the grayscale, it's gonna make that a little bit more difficult. So if I can find something, like this is just gonna mean like you wanna remove this white area. So out of this kind of skull, we wanna be able to remove. On the roses, we wanna be able to remove those whites because that's where your skin would show through on a tattoo. You can do something like, when I hit an image, I'm gonna right click on the image. I'm gonna do search Google for image. I can also do like search for similar, but when I hit this, it's gonna come back with the, oh, is this what you wanted? And then I can see visually similar images. So I can go through and I can start to pick something out, something tribal. I want to, again, stay away from tattoos on people. And once I see something I like, I want to try to find a really, the best resolution I can. So at 260 by 260, that's going to be a pretty small image. And when I link to it, it's going to take me to a, hey, do you want to buy some images? But we can kind of search through, and man, I really think that I would look great with a butterfly tattoo. I don't want tattoos already in a shape. I want a tattoo like if I walked into the tattoo shop and I said to the person there, boy, I'd really like to have this tattoo, that's what I would be looking at. So 862 by 886, that's pretty good. I'll even leave the artist's signature on it. The hard part is going to be, it's got a little bit of grayscale, so I'd have to clean out some of those. So I want to find a tattoo that I can use. And once I have those two things, that's all I need. My picture of where the tattoo is going to go and the black and white image of the tattoo. And then Monday, we will start working on it. So tattoo stencils, yep, that's exactly what you're looking for. Cool, Kylie? Okay, so we will end there, so you've got more time to finish up your Archimboldo. And then whenever you get free time, pop out a couple letters on your alphabet. And then we will start Monday messing with displacements. Awesome sauce? I'll probably put some of the videos up to give you a head start. I might put up all the videos to give you a head start too. Have a good weekend, Kylie.